David Cohen.
And I'm Rob Doyle, and this is the second Dead Feed special effects makeup tutorial. This is Matt Bowden. He's going to be our Dead Feed zombie today, and the type of zombie makeup we're doing is extra old and decaying. If you haven't seen our first makeup tutorial on the basic zombie makeup, click the screen right now.
Click it!
Click it. Alright, I guess you've seen it.
You've seen it.
So, here we go.
Here we go.
Alright, on an advanced zombie, I'm going to start out by just taking a liner pencil and drawing out what I'm going to do to them. And then I'm going to just mark out the areas where I'm going to do the decaying flesh. Okay, first thing I want to do is I'm going to take my Prozade adhesive or spirit gum. You can even use latex for this on a clean makeup wedge. Just dab a little bit on those places that I said I'm going to make those wounds. I'm going to take my natural plasto. Just going to get a clump of it on there. Just kind of spread it around the place where I'm going to make that wound. And the Prozade dries very quickly, so you got to work fast. I'm just going to go back with that wedge now, and I'm just going to tap to give it a good skin-like texture to it. So there's one, and I'm going to let that dry how it is right now with that Prozade under it, and I'm going to move up to that forehead wound that we're going to do right up here. It's going to have a good chunk taken out of his forehead. I'm going to get some Prozade on the wedge again. I'm going to go with the Mortician's wax again, do the same thing that I did for the nose. I'm going to let those two dry. And while that's happening, I'm going to move on to these other parts where I'm going to make some decaying flesh. And this is a really cool technique that I've learned to do decaying flesh. I'm going to use this bruise wheel. It's the Ben Nye CK1 bruise wheel. I'm going to go with that burgundy. And those areas that I marked out, I'm just going to lay some color in. So now I'm going to dab that out. So it still has that breakup pattern in there. And then I'm going to go in with this bruise brush with another color in the same wheel. You don't want to blend it, you just want to dab it to get rid of the excess. And then what I'm going to do is I'm just going to lightly powder that. I don't want to powder it fully because I don't want to take a lot of the pigment out of it. Just tap some powder in it so it sets it. And brush away the excess powder. Now what we're going to do is we're going to take some Vaseline and we're just going to dab some spots in the wound. Then, we're going to take our liquid latex. Just took it back a little bit. There you go. We're going to put a layer over that entire wound, covering the Vaseline. And the reason we put the Vaseline down is because in a minute, when this is all dry and we've made it up and everything, we're going to rip up these parts that have the Vaseline on them because the latex isn't going to stick to it, and underneath is going to be that raw red color. And now, we wait for the latex to dry. Alright, now our latex is dry, so what I'm going to do is I'm just going to toss some powder on there so it's not sticky. Close your eyes, breathe in. Now, if you watched the last video, which I recommend you do before this next step, you know how to do all of the base, the highlights, the shadows, everything. So to save time, we're going to do that right now and fast forward, and I'm going to use an airbrush just because it's a little quicker. Alright, now our base color is all dry. It's a little greener and we put a little more yellow and blue in there than a freshly dead zombie, just so it gives him that kind of more decayed look. So what we're going to do is we're going to start laying in some shadows right now, which are pretty much the same as the freshly dead zombie, just a little bit deeper. So we're going to do those cheekbones again. And instead of putting that character shadow on, that brown color that we used, we're just going to use this purple, this navy blue. Okay, another thing that I'm going to add right now, we didn't do, is before I do the bags under the eyes, I just want to get really close up under the eye with that red color on both eyes. And then I'm going to go back in with that chiseled edge of the makeup wedge and just really softly just kind of feather it out. And now we're going to add our eye bags. Alright, so that's pretty much our base for the makeup. Now what we're going to do is we're going to go back and we're going to work on all of those 3D effects that we had originally with that the latex and the mortician's wax. So I'm going to go back in with my spatula. I'll start with the nose wound. I'm just going to kind of play with it until I can pick some of it up. And then I'm going to go back in with that other little tool, this little sharp one, and be really careful. Just kind of go in and pick up those edges a little bit. And then after you do that, you can go back in with a little bit of color. Right now I'm going to use this a little bit of the red first. And just really carefully, because you don't want to mess with any of that nose putty. You want that to keep its shape, so kind of just dab in that red tone in there. You can even take a little liner brush, just kind of drag out some cracks, maybe where it cracked the skin open. And then in the middle of that, take a little bit of that purple. That's going to add that depth. We'll do the same thing to the other one. So now we have our two 3D wounds. The only thing that we have to do with those left is just fill them in with blood at the end. So now we're going to move on to those latex parts that we did before that have the Vaseline under them. And a good thing to do is remember where you put the Vaseline so you don't have to go around searching for it. I'm going to use this little, that sharp tool again, and really gently just kind of poke at the latex, make sure you don't get the actor's skin in there. And just pull it away, and you'll notice where that Vaseline was put down, it comes right away. It doesn't stick to the skin like the rest of it does. And you don't want to rip it off, you kind of just want to rip it and pull a little bit so that it does that. Pull it down a little bit, you can hold it and then break some away so it hangs. It gives a really cool kind of falling off skin effect. Alright, so those are those 3D effects for that. The last thing you could do is just a simple little stippling thing, you could take some color and an orange or a black stipple sponge and just dab a little bit of color on there. And kind of just trail it in a couple directions coming away as if it was maybe a sore that burst open. You don't have to do that only on those wounds, you could do it around. I like to do some always when I do a zombie around the mouth area. And you can add some other, you don't want to go overboard, but you can add some, a black eye coming from that. If you use these orange stipple sponges that cryo in cells, it gives kind of a really cool vein pattern. If you have to, I have to because the Vaseline took it up a little bit. Go back to these little 3D guys, the latex where it pulled up. My Vaseline, when it reacted with the latex, it kind of took up some of that color. So you can go back in and touch those up, maybe get some on the inside of the latex that was peeled away. Alright, and finally the last thing is the blood. And although there's a lot going on in the face right now, you don't want to add too much blood. So just kind of like dab it into those wounds just to give it some shine. So that's finished zombie.
I'm David Cohen.
And I'm Rob Doyle. Thanks for watching.
Stay tuned to this channel for other special features, behind the scenes, tutorials, all that bullshit nonsense.